Oh, testing, testing. It's working. Okay. Not oh, it's lost focus, right? No, because so we're not used to talking into a microphone, so we might green. There's a green light. It's on. So we might kick it off. Thanks everybody for coming tonight. It's pretty exciting that this is our first combined Code Club and Sydney Ed Robotics meetup. So I think we should do this again sometime soon. Okay, so this is the fifth Sydney Ed Robotics meetup, and combined with Code Club, which makes it very special. So just like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, and also acknowledge Atlassian for the pizzas and drinks, and thanks to Mariano for organising that. As always, thank you, Atlassian. Much appreciated. And thanks everyone for coming. So the agenda for tonight, maybe some announcements. There's an attendance sheet over there, which I completely forgot about last time. We'll do some community shout outs for our special interest group community shout outs. We have presentations tonight from Sydney Ed Robotics and Code Club. And next month's Sydney Ed Robotics meetup, we're working on having it hosted at a school again. So last school we had was Abbottsley Senior School, and that was a really exciting meetup to see what they're doing in the classroom. So the presentations tonight, we have first up we have Peter Dalmaris, who's going to give us an exciting presentation on his new book, Maker Education Revolution. So looking forward to that. I'll be giving a talk and a demonstration of a new Wi-Fi robot. And from Code Club tonight we have Pip Cleaves, who's the teacher training manager with Code Club. So very exciting lineup. Just before I do the shout outs, if anybody has any other shout outs, any things they'd like to announce or things that they're doing, just shout out after this. So I'll give you a minute to think about it. So always like to shout out to Little Bird Electronics, Nicola O'Brien, who's also a great community member. And has anybody got any other shout outs they'd like to make, just things they're doing or anything they'd like to say to the group? Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Atlassian. And normally I'd shout out to Peter. Yeah, normally I'd shout out to Peter as well, but he's talking tonight, so he's shouting out for himself. That's all the announcements we have. So I think at this point I'll hand over to Peter for the first presentation. So,
guys, hear me? Microphone?
You should.
Recording. Okay, no problem. I can do your presentation if you like. We'll start with the last slide. No. What a spoiler. Okay, that's better. So thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. I haven't done a book presentation in the past, so this is kind of new for me. I typically do technical presentations, explain to people how to use an Arduino or a Raspberry Pi, so I don't do much theory. So this is quite different for me. So what I'm here to talk about is a new book that I've been working on for about 9 months. It's called Maker Education Revolution, and it's about my experience both as a maker and as a mentor to makers. And I'll expand on that very, very soon. First, I want to talk a little bit about me. I'm going to take a couple of minutes just so that you can get an understanding of where I'm coming from, because a lot of that feeds into the book later, so it's going to make more sense. So that's me. I founded a company called Tech Explorations in 2013. After spending about 15 years as a lecturer at universities around Sydney, I was teaching various subjects, mostly in IT, in programming, and a few business subjects as well. So I got really, really sick of it. I had to leave. And at that time, I was playing around with Arduinos and Raspberry Pis, especially with Arduinos. And I remembered what it was like when I was growing up. And I was playing around with electronics kits. No Arduinos, of course, back then. You just go to Radio Shack, buy a kit with a few resistors, transistors, and stuff like that, and stick it all together, and hopefully it will blink. So all that came back to me with the Arduinos, and I decided to start Tech Explorations because I wanted to get back into that kind of mindset, and also teach others, because after 15 years of teaching, kind of rubs off, and you want to continue doing that. So that's what happened in 2013, and then earlier this year, I started a new company called STEMiverse with Marcus Sharpie of Little Bird Electronics, and together we are building a curricula for the Australian school system. And we are about to launch our first curriculum, which is aimed for students in, say, year 6 or 7 to learn robotics with a robotics platform called MBOT. So that's what I'm doing professionally. I've got a few students around the world. Most of my courses on Arduinos and Raspberry Pis are video courses that I conduct online. So my students just learn at their own time, their own place, watching my videos, and I support them electronically as well. And these are some of the projects that my students have done. Some of them are school students, so you can see that little girl up there. She got first place for her project. It's a clock that speaks. When you walk close to the clock, it will tell you what the time is, which is very good for people that can't see, right? So that's why she did it. And that little guy down there, he's my son. He's playing around with electronics, and he loves it. He likes LEDs with batteries especially. The motors as well, they make noise. So my students just make amazing projects, and they always surprise me. A couple of times a year, I do little competitions, invite them to share the projects with me and with other students, and things like that come up. There's a fortune teller. The robot on the right side says, "Ask me a question." I don't know exactly how it works, but it's got an Arduino inside, and it's quite addictive. These are some of my courses. All of them are video courses. Some of them have got books as well. And I've also been writing books. Raspberry Pi, KiCad, a great way to build your own PCBs. And of course, there's the Arduino. So the main topic of my talk is this book, Maker Education Revolution. And I'm at the final stages of editing. I should be able to release the electronic version first, maybe in May, crossing fingers, and then the printed version is going to come out. I'm going to read you a little bit out of it just to get an idea of what it's all about, but in general, some of the specifications of the books. It's a book for parents, teachers, and decision makers is kind of a broad term to describe people that have an interest in education. I suppose that people in this room today, you guys have an understanding of what maker-style education is. Can I assume that? Maker-style education? Question to the audience. What are some of the characteristics that make maker-style education different to what I call conventional, traditional education? Any ideas? Sorry? Exactly, that's number one. So whatever you learn, you actually have to do it. If you don't do it, you can't reasonably claim that you know it. So that's one big thing. I'll talk a lot about that in the book. Can you think of anything else? I don't have anything specific in mind, but just want to get an understanding of what you think. Sorry? Experimental, yeah, trial and error. And actually errors are very important in learning and in maker education. Yes, you want to burn that transistor down. You want to burn that motor or that resistor. That's a good thing. We'll give you another one and try again. Try to think about what is it that you did wrong the first time around. So we've got I have a lot of burned things in my various boxes, and so do my kids. It's okay. So these are some of the elements of maker education that I try to highlight in this book. Now, of course, I look at maker education as not really something ideal, but something that is needed, but we're not there yet. We still have to deal with a type of education that is based on 18th and 19th century understanding of what it means to learn something. And actually, even further than that, what is it that you need to learn in order to become a productive person later on in your life? And the problem is that today we are preparing our children and people for life in the 21st century. Anybody knows what the 21st century is going to be like? No idea. So what do we know that they need to have A or B at minimum in this particular subject or that particular subject, whatever it might be? We just don't know. But what we do know is that there are certain characteristics of a person that lives in the 21st century, let's say 22nd and so on. And we can make good educated guess of what those personal characteristics might be. Any guesses? Educated? Creativity and ability to problem solve, yeah. An independent learner, perhaps. You don't have to be told where to learn. You can figure it out yourself based on the problem that you have in front of you to solve. Multidisciplinary, exactly. There's no silos anymore. Everything that you need to build, every problem that you need to solve today has a lot of different perspectives and a lot of different possible solutions. And you need to combine things together, not one, a lot of them. There's aspects like that that we know are needed in the 21st century and onwards. These are the skills that we need to be developing in children today. So I believe that maker education gives us a platform to be able to get towards that kind of educational system. And in my book, I also talk about how we can learn from maker education style and apply those learnings in the current educational system that we have. So I'm not saying that we need to dismantle or destroy. No need for that. We need to adjust. So there's a lot of learnings that from maker education that we can apply without radical change in schools today. Since this is a kind of a book presentation, I think I'd like to read you a few paragraphs out of one chapter of the book, keeping in mind as well that I've got about 10 or 15 minutes, right? Okay. So this is one of the chapters. It's called The Story of a Learner in Charge. And it's going to take me about 7 minutes to go through. So in a maker-style education environment, the learner is in charge of their own learning. What is this like? What is it like for a child to be free to shape his own learning day in and day out? Leo is a 9-year-old boy, intelligent and severely dyslexic. Leo is my son. Leo is having a lot of difficulty in learning how to read. For dyslexic people, and I could be one of them, symbolic characters on paper or on a screen are very hard to decode. What to you looks like a perfectly shaped letter, to Leo looks like a random smudge of ink. Converting the letters of a word into sounds, especially when those same letters produce different sounds when used in different words, is often psychologically a painful experience. For dyslexic people, reading is a constant struggle. Often, by the time Leo finishes reading a small sentence, he's forgotten what the one before it was about. Dyslexic people often suffer from low self-esteem and frustration, the result of being unable to do something that comes naturally to so many other people and most of their peers at school. Leo was unable to find a school environment that was compatible with his particular learning needs. We enrolled him in several schools, both private and public, and even with a full medical diagnosis of his condition and with the assistance of child psychologists in every school, and regardless of how much the teachers tried, Leo felt like he was not learning anything. He would come home in the afternoon tired and frustrated. His mind, like that of every child, wanted to learn, but his environment was simply not designed to match his needs. His particular strengths and strong interests were ignored because there was no place for them in any of the schools. There was no class for Minecraft, zoology, and astronomy. Not only was Leo unable to progress in the core curriculum literacy areas of English and mathematics, but he was not able to apply himself on the things that he enjoyed. We decided that homeschooling was the best option available. It was the only reasonable choice available. We started homeschooling Leo when he was 7 years old, along with Leo's brother, Ari, who is also dyslexic. Our objectives were to remove frustration from the children's lives and to restore the love for learning. To achieve that, we designed an environment in which we, as the parents, teachers, and mentors, gave a direction of study in which the children cover the basic literacy requirements, especially reading and mathematics. But beyond the basic literacy outcomes, our role was to simply assist Leo and Ari in whatever they choose to learn. When it comes to basic literacy, we sourced learning materials specifically designed for dyslexic children and took an evidence-based approach. In small daily doses, the children train in the practical aspects of reading, writing, and calculating. But for the rest of the time that they now had available every day, both children were encouraged to pursue their interests. At 7 years of age, Ari has an intense interest in drawing and construction. Ari spends considerable time experimenting with different kinds of paints, markers, pencils, and papers, and he creates his elaborate drawings, usually depicting a funny scene from a movie or real life. He often uses Minecraft on his computer to create similar scenes or scenes from a superhero movie. And Ari has also started to create his own videos on his computer, recording his gaming sessions. He said to me that he wants to be a famous YouTuber and outlined his plan for his gaming channel, the types of videos that he will produce, the channel logo, name, and thumbnails. For him, it's not about what he wants to be when he grows up. It's about what he wants to be now. Leo has intense interests in life in the medieval times, especially the lives of knights, their armor and weapons. He's also very strong interest in animals and zoology, and in particular dinosaurs. He devours any information he can find on these topics. He prefers video documentaries because of his difficulty in reading, but he now uses a reading pen that automatically converts text to speech. With this technology available to him, the world of books is now widely open. Leo devours audiobooks and podcasts on science, technology, and comedy. He can hold a conversation about the Big Bang, the formation of the solar system, and climate change science with any adult. Although that we, as the parents, have created the environment that allows them to pursue their paths of learning, they own the directions they move. They decide how much time to spend in an activity as long as that does not impede normal family life, and that is fine with us. They have never, to my recollection, only spent exactly 45 minutes on any activity. So it was just a small part of the chapter. But from that, a few aspects of what it is to do maker education come out. So at the end, for example, I said they've never only spent exactly 45 minutes on any activity. Okay, because these are things that they enjoy doing, that they're really engaged with. You can't just time box them. We allow them as much time as they need. Typically, they have to start starving before we can get them off the computer or the drawing board or whatever they do. Another thing that I'd like to point out is the fact that we are not really telling them what to do. They are telling us what to do, and then we try to make it happen. So if Leo wants to go and study a particular animal, then we can go to a Taronga Zoo and he can spend minutes or hours, whatever he wants, talking to the zookeepers, asking questions about it live. And then, of course, there's also Wikipedia. So that's just a few elements of what maker education is in my experience, and a few of the elements of the book. And I've got a few more details about the contents. So there's a bit of philosophy. I talk about the origins and the philosophical underpinnings of maker education. I talk a little bit about what I perceive as crisis in education. The fact that we've got disappointed kids probably means that we have a crisis there. I learn a lot from inventors, because inventors, although they are extreme types of humans in terms of the behavior, the outlook and all that, but they've got a lot of lessons they can teach us about the way that they learn and how they apply the learnings to their inventions, to solving problems. So there's a bit of that in the book as well. There's a philosophy, as I said, how I see teachers becoming mentors. So teachers are not so much about transmitting knowledge to students, but about facilitating student learning. They are mentors. Bit of art there. Art is important. Mindset and this thing called deliberate practice, which comes from a long line of researchers. How do you improve a specific skill? How do you become better in calculations, for example, in playing chess, in playing the violin? All these are specific skills, and there's a whole theory behind it and practice on how you can make people better in specific skills. And the third section of the book is do-it-yourself guide. I give a lot of example and solutions in common questions that I get about how to build a better maker learning environment. Okay, if you are interested to know when the book is out, just go to that page. There's a URL. Put your email address down, and I will let you know when it's out. Okay. And I'd like to finish with Aristotle. Those Greeks. He was not a maker himself, but he did realize that in order to know something, you have to make it. You have to do it with your own hands. You've got to practice it. It doesn't have what Aristotle was talking about was not just in terms of technology. It was everything in your life. You've got to practice what you want to be good at. Okay, thank you for your time. Do we have time for questions? Yeah? So you can ask me now, or you can ask me later. Plenty of ways to get in touch. Questions? Okay, I've got to admit, yeah, my wife does most of the homeschooling because I am fully engaged with tech exploration. So supporting 40,000 students and building constantly new materials now, also with STEMiverse, takes a lot of time. But I do get the kids involved in anything to do with technology. So Arduinos, Raspberry Pis, not yet, but M-boards. Minecraft, Scratch programming, all those things we do together. There's not much time left for anything else. Yep.
Oh yeah. Do you find your child is much more happier now? Like, and also, I don't know much about parenting, but often children get grumpy. But does this help, this learning style, has this helped with that parenting, I guess?
That's a great question. Actually, something that I wanted to talk about, but I forgot. So thanks. Yeah, look, it took us a long time to repair the damage that was done by schools. So, as I said, both kids have dyslexia, and after 2 years, that did year one and Leo did year two as well, they were the last in the class. They were completely unable to learn anything new because the teacher would put something on the board. Leo would take half an hour to read what the thing was, and then the class had moved on. So in terms of self-esteem, it was just below floor. It was terrible. 2 years now, we are in the third year of homeschooling, so all that now has been restored. Most of the damage has been reversed. Both kids can read. Not fast, so it will take a long time. That's why we use technology. We use pen readers. They convert text in a book to speech, so they can take the time to do that. But no more crisis. No more every single day coming back from school, we've got meltdowns because a kid said something or the teacher pushed them to do something they couldn't understand even what it was about. So all that is finished. And in the specific areas of their own interests, so I mentioned a few things like Minecraft, zoology for Leo, comedy for Ari. They are actually doing deliberate practice on those aspects. So they become very, very good at a few topics that they have very strong interests in. But we are still struggling a lot with reading. That is something that it's going to take maybe 10 years to fix. It's going to take a very long time. They are at their age of competence in mathematics. Whatever has to do with numbers, dyslexic people are fine because there's no exceptions in mathematics. And there's only 10 characters plus a few other symbols. So complete turnaround. Anything else comes to mind, just email me or Twitter me. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter. So I can't wait to read your book. The world needs this book, so really look forward to reading your perspectives and insights. And I think your book will be a great gift to the world. Yeah, thanks. Okay, so I think we might take a break for just a few minutes. I just forgot to let you know that the toilets are in the corridor. Female toilets is first on the left, and then a bit further down is the male toilets. So we'll just take a break for a few minutes, and then we'll come back, and then I'll start up again. Okay, thank you.